Hey everybody, Blood Moon Bobby and Gaby here. This time we were talking about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. The thing is, Gaby, after we got through the original trilogy, admittedly at times I get kind of insecure about the videos on my channel, thinking, I talk about way too many positive topics. Maybe I should bring balance of the Force and talk about something that's not quite as, um, as, good. Yeah,
But
talk. Yeah. I don't know, it's just me. Or actually, since this is a Phantom Menace review, I should probably start off by uh, talking about a certain really famous Phantom Menace review that our friend Steven introduced us to. Do you remember which one?
no.
It started with something along the effect of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace was the worst thing since my son.
What the heck? I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, that was a reference to Red Letter Media's review, which is probably the most famous slash longest review
Oh
of
wow.
Phantom Menace. It's the endless trash like that. Does that ring a bell?
I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't.
Yeah, that wasn't in the review. It was also Red Letter Media, but yeah. Oh my God, Phantom Menace. I mean, just I
It
mean,
has a reputation. It has a reputation.
yeah, as one of the most hated, well, we could say Star Wars prequels,
Yeah, which is
basically.
practically all of them.
Yeah.
So
Which yeah, but we'll get into more of our thoughts on Phantom Menace as we go on. So it's basically just a general ideas, like what we usually do, where we talk about like the synopsis, what we liked, what we didn't like, what about the part about the things that I also at some point wanted to talk about how we actually did quite a bit of research on like the backlash to Phantom Menace was so insane, and I wanted to specifically focus on two of the actors who had to deal with a lot of the backlash, which we'll get into in this review. So anyway, Gabby, so what exactly is Phantom Menace about? What is the this what is one of the most hated Star Wars movies about?
I guess I would start off with it having to do with Anakin's origin story.
Mm-hmm.
For one, the infamous Darth Vader and his beginnings. Um, we have Jar Jar Binks, which is a very, very, I mean, I guess, I want to say controversial, but if you know the Star Wars fandom, you know why,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, One of the most controversial topics, especially associated with this film. We have the whole thing with Senator Palpatine, the introduction of Padme or Princess Amidala. Uh, am I missing anything? A little bit more
Something.
banter, and a very particular species of habitants of the universe, I guess is the way we can put it.
Yeah, and yeah, and also something about trade federations and that kind of jazz.
Don't ask me about that because all I hear when they're talking about that is blah 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 blah. But yes, there is the whole like, oh, but the trading federations and coup d'etat and we're gonna take over, and I'm here just like, what? But okay, yeah. So basically, from what I understand, to put it in the simplest terms that I can wrap my brain around it,
Mm-hmm.
um, these group of people are working with Darth uh, Sidious, who we know was doubling as Emperor Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for spoilers, guys, but I mean I think enough of us have had time for this, right?
Yeah.
um, and so they plan basically to form like a coup d'état and take over uh, Princess Amidala. Um, she's not aware that that was Senator Palpatine working behind the curtains while also representing her, saying that he was going to help her. So that whole aspect of the film was just really weird, coming in knowing who he was and what he was going to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, yeah, he gets these people from the Trade Federation, said aforementioned depictions that came to become another infamous aspect of the film, and they basically just land there on Naboo and come up with a bunch of droids and guns and say, okay, we're here to negotiate. Negotiate.
Yeah.
And this is not before we are introduced with our Jedi, Qui-Gon Jinn and a young Obi-Wan Kenobi, sent in order to actually negotiate before them coming to Naboo. But of course that doesn't happen because plans,
Yeah.
It's I'm going to admit, for me it seems a little messy, just because again, this is the kind of stuff that sort of eludes me when it comes to the prequels, just because you know the I guess you could call it political melodrama, as far as like what the dialogue is about. It's one of those aspects that is kind of something that runs through all of the prequels, and it's a big part of why I don't really handle them very well as far as being able to watch them completely, because that just whoop, right over my head.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think you're the first, because like that was actually one of the first big criticisms I heard about the prequels before I watched them, and of course I went in with as open-minded as I could. I will say it wasn't nearly as complicated or bad as I feared, but I'll talk more about that when we get more to the flaws. Oh,
yeah, and I could agree in the sense that I wouldn't call it the worst of the prequels by any means, but it certainly is infamous.
Yeah. I think that's like the one word to like sum up Phantom Menace's reputation is infamous.
Yeah.
But, so we've heard the backlash and how like Phantom Menace. It's kind of funny how like nowadays with internet culture, how like we always talk about how people get on the internet and always getting on the keyboards and raging. I remember this YouTuber I watched once said that like it's almost like a rule on Twitter, come in and be angry, basically.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
I'm
surprised that's not their actual motto.
Yeah, get angry.
Come in, get angry.
Yeah, but anyway, so but before we get into like our problems with Phantom Menace, let's actually talk about give some attention to the more positive aspects first, since I think everybody has heard at least the gist that it's a rather infamous movie. So what were some of the things that we liked, first of all?
I definitely enjoyed the scenes in Tatooine, the pod racing. Oh my gosh, seeing C-3PO before he's completely built, I think is kind of interesting. Having R2-D2 form a sort of friendship with young Anakin is also pretty cool. Darth Maul, heck yeah. In fact, I think they did him a bit of injustice, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much more. I feel like I'm forgetting something though, but that's the majority of it, I think.
Yeah. I also kind of want to say I do also like a lot of the set designs, especially that scene in the opening where we see Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon Jinn By the way, if I snicker saying Qui-Gon Jinn's name, it's no offense to Liam Neeson or anybody. It's just when I hear his name, I just think of how in the Red Letter Media review they they call him Booze in the review because Jin is part of his name.
Because, oh my god.
But anyway, yeah, that was why I was kind of making faces earlier.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, I really like that
wow.
underwater scene. That was actually one of those scenes where nobody really told me, which it's kind of funny because like I've heard, everybody talk about Jar Jar Binks, but what I didn't hear was like the underwater world they go into.
Oh yeah, the Gungan City
Mm-hmm.
is just beautiful. And also, I just really love Qui-Gon.
Mm-hmm.
He radiates that kind of like sweet, kind of gentle mentor energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just live for that. It's just my heart.
Yeah. And yeah, looking back, it's kind of nice to see because I think about how Obi-Wan was Luke's mentor, and now it's kind of like that you want to see who Obi-Wan's the mentor was. So yeah, I
Yeah,
like the
I'm
idea
just
behind
like,
that.
why couldn't we have you in more of the movies?
Yeah. And yeah,
Crying
like you
tears.
said, and I was also a fan of the Darth Maul fight scene. It's basically, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I disagree. I just
Oh,
agree with you.
okay, yeah. It's basically it's the kind of thing where it's like whenever it focuses more so on when it does get to things like the action, and it does start to get entertaining at times, even like downright entertaining. Like yeah, I thought it
Oh
was
yeah.
still like really well planned out and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think that kind of gets to when I talk about what I liked about Phantom Menace. It's kind of like I like the events surrounding the motivations and so forth. Just the motivation itself, it doesn't really click with me. And when I first heard people talk about Phantom Menace and say, "Oh, there's a bunch of like political trade talk that's hard to follow," at first I thought it was gonna be like, "Oh God, we're gonna get like 20 to 30 minute scenes where it's just blah 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 blah."
Oh, just wait. Just wait.
Oh,
Just wait.
okay, because
This was a cakewalk, okay, in
hmm
that aspect. We had like a good maybe like third, fifth of the movie dedicated to it, and most of it was actually pretty interesting because it was like fighting and like war and stuff, you know. But if you notice, the some of the biggest battle scenes actually lacked so much energy.
hmm
There were the great, lightsaber fights and all of that, but like if we could skip a little bit and go to the part where the Gungans get together with the Naboo,
hmm
and just go out there,
yeah,
you could feel the energy just go, and you're
yeah,
just like taking it all, and it's like they're fighting.
hmm
Why does it feel like we're just kind of there?
yeah,
And I mean, part of it may have to be with the fact that they're supposed to be a distraction,
hmm
but at the same time, like these people are putting their lives on the line. The tension should be really high,
hmm
especially after how hard it was to get them on their side. But it's just mostly dedicated to more slapstick with Jar Jar, which again, if you know me, I don't honestly have too much of a problem with Jar Jar. I actually
hmm
think he's pretty sympathetic, at least for me, just because I've been the clumsy kind of quirky, not fitting in, messing stuff up kind of person in the past.
hmm
But that particular choice to dedicate that scene to slapstick, I'm just here being like, what? Oh, okay.
yeah. Although it is cool that you are able to sympathize with Jar Jar in that way, and as a person that I at times could also be rather clumsy, like being the one who accidentally knocks down the drink or bumps into somebody I didn't mean to, I could really respect that. But yeah, I also kind of noticed it's like, why is Jar Jar getting into this and that? Like I noticed in the battle scenes, I thought was just kind of awkwardly placed. And as for me, like, again, I kind of went into this, and maybe we could talk a bit about Ahmed Best in a second.
Oh,
But
oh yeah.
it's interesting how, like, before I saw Phantom Menace, like, Jar Jar was basically built up to me as like one of the most hated characters in cinema. But I think
And he honestly was.
yeah, but I think one of the reasons why I didn't find him annoying. I don't know what it is about me. I'm not the kind of person that gets like really easily like annoyed with like, characters that are like, really goofy and things like that. I think especially if it's like, well, I don't know if I would consider this movie like incredibly tense, but in some situations I could even see being a thing where it's like, oh, they're the comic relief. Like I guess,
Oh
I guess when I think of characters like that, I mean, this is a really like different comparison, but I guess I could think of characters like, Iago and Aladdin, or even like, dare I say, the Gargoyles and Hunchback, which actually is probably
yeah,
a closer
practically. And
example.
then that was his purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think here they were anticipating the tension to be that much higher, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, which is why they put so much energy into Jar Jar. But it worked out in that I feel like the writing had a lot more to do with it than the character himself.
Yeah.
Obviously not completely. There were
Mm-hmm.
some kinks that, didn't work out so much for the character. But it was basically going like, okay, this guy's just going to be there and he's going to just randomly end up in situations to no fault of his own. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he doesn't ask for the majority of what happens to him. But I mean, even just becoming a general,
Yeah.
he just was being Jar Jar, and he's like, bah. Now they're like, oh my gosh, you're gonna turn him into a general. It's like, okay, he's just chilling. He's
Mm-hmm.
just chilling. And I guess the idea was is like, wouldn't it get people so angry if we just gave this guy all a bunch of this stuff without even wanting to get in it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I guess it kind of worked in that sense because a lot of people did get angry. But the point was just to laugh at how easily he got himself in situations,
Yeah.
sometimes without even doing anything. A good part of the time he did do something, but I mean, there were some really big parts where he didn't even really do anything, and he just ended up in situations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even as far as ending up with the Jedi, he says it himself. I was eating my morning food like breakfast. I'm strolling along, and these droids come up, and now I'm in the life debt with these Jedi, so I'm joining them. It's like, what part of that did he ask for?
Yeah. I
you
see.
know, and I think the writers were just having a field day with that, and it was just kind of like trolling, taking up like five notches before trolling was really much a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just laughing their butts off while everyone just got super pissed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. Point being, though, it had a lot. I think the writing was a lot more to be. What's the word? God dang it.
Was like,
But
I
basically,
guess
it
you,
had a
yeah.
lot more to do with the writing than it really had to do with the character himself. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you can get past the whole clumsiness. It's
Yeah.
really easy to look at Jar Jar and say, what, he didn't even ask for the majority of what he got into. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't doing anything. He didn't do anything clumsy. He just wrong place, wrong time, you know,
Which I
or
guess that
right
was the
place.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it's like if you're a person who really just gets annoyed because you know that this was done on purpose, it makes sense to me because I know people can be like this. Not to judge them as, oh, you shouldn't be like that or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it is really annoying when stuff like that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like it's an easy way to push people's buttons where it's like the writing definitely does not work out. And I've seen this ruin movies for people quite a few times. I mean, easily the first thing that comes to mind is the Ghostbusters reboot.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody's like, oh my god, it's so horrible, and it's such a cash grab, and it's like you watch the movie, you sit down, and it's like they were just working with a bad script to begin with. Everyone else was just pulled into this. Twilight as well, I would say. Being one of those like so bad it's so funny to watch kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it just has to do with the source material, which was a book.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if there's one way for something to just work out horribly, it's an issue with the writing. So, I'd call this like a textbook issue, like a textbook writing issue, like, oh, isn't this funny? It's like, no. To a lot of people, it's not. It's annoying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we also recently, in fact, I think, was it when we were watching the movie, you were telling me about how much of the backlash that the actor who played Jar Jar, Ahmed Best himself, like, received?
Oh, yes. There was a lot of criticism. I don't know that they actually sent him directly any kind of like threats or anything, because that wasn't really the case at the time. That's much more a recent phenomenon, I guess we could call it, right? Particularly still applicable to this Star Wars franchise, especially with the sequels. But he did take in a lot of how much people hated this character. And the sad part was this guy already had to fight for the part. He was up against Michael Jackson, who was ready to put his entire heart and soul into the character for some reason. He was just up there like, I'm going to be Jar Jar Binks. I need this. And what do you do when you're the one who one-ups Michael Jackson? The guy was salty as heck. So right off the bat, he was coming in with this superstar, looking at him from the corner, giving him that evil eye like, you took my part. And now to put your heart and soul, because you're like, okay, I have to prove that I'm good for this part. We had fun. This was funny. I genuinely put myself into this character, and to see that just a whole bunch of people just absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
It was devastating for him. And I guess when I learned about that, I already kind of was like, oh, what's wrong with Jar Jar? But once I saw the story behind it, I was just like, y'all are jerks.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a guy behind this who put his heart and soul into it, man. Let's say at least the guy didn't even want to do this part. Okay, then he probably wouldn't have even cared. But to see work that you put a lot of effort to just be completely pooped on, and images of it being used to destroy, just to show how much people hated this piece of work that you did, it's sad. It's very sad. So I gained a new appreciation for the character after that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and by the way, so yeah, I was looking through several articles on not just about Ahmed Best, but I also, looked around about Jake Lloyd as well and what he's up to. Wired did say that Best said that he did receive death threats through the internet. So.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, so.
That makes it even worse then. Okay, guys. Wow.
Yeah. So
ouch.
I mean, yeah. I mean, all I could really say about this is even when it's one thing to say oh, you didn't really like a part, but of course, we're totally against going to the personal lives of these people and hurting them that way.
Yeah.
I
mean, I think we were looking at a quick kind of review video going over what happened, and it even pointed out this poor guy was driven to the point of considering harming himself. So once it gets to that part, you know that a bunch of people are just taking it way too far.
Yeah.
This is still a human being we're talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
it's to kind of add all of that together, it's just you can't ask me to hate Jar Jar Binks as much as you want me to. I can't. I
Yeah.
mean, I could admit that it's not a perfect, but I ain't going to hate on it just because I know how much it meant to the person working on it. It's hard to really look at that and absolutely hate it after you know how much somebody put an effort into something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Regardless of how it comes out.
Yeah. And just me personally, like, I don't think even when it comes to criticism, it shouldn't even go that far with really any movie, to be honest.
No, it shouldn't.
No.
It really shouldn't.
Yeah. Although as of right now, it does seem like things are at least like starting to things are getting better for Ahmed Best. Like I heard he was on like a Star Wars show, and
Yeah,
he
I
is
heard that
getting other
too.
projects, so it is
That's
good that he
good.
could at least find another work. I mean, but speaking of actors who got hit with a lot of backlash, you want to talk about Jake Lloyd?
Remind me what we're talking about in the sense of Jake Lloyd.
The
I
kid who
don't
played
know.
Anakin.
Oh, I'm not even aware.
Yeah,
What happened? I need to hear this story.
yeah, because I even came across an article that said that even Mark Hamill was really upset at the fans who like went out and attacked, like not necessarily the ones who just said, "Oh, I didn't like Jake Lloyd's performance," but the ones um who really like went at him. And to which, because like when I watched the movie, I did notice that when I look at Lloyd's performance, he does deliver his lines in that sort of way, or it kind of sounds like, he sounds like he's reading a script and like speaking in that like kind of like tone, sort of like, monotone kind of aggressive kind of voice, you know?
Yeah, but I don't know. Once we're talking about kid actors, I can't focus on that.
Yeah,
It's
I
like this is
yeah,
a
I
little kid we are talking about. So I guess I'd never really thought of it. I just thought, yeah, he's a kid. Of course, his lines are going to sound weird. He's a kid.
Yeah, and that to Jake Lloyd's credit, like it's something to take into account. I think even Mark Hamill was like, hey, keep in mind, he was just doing what George Lucas, wanted him to
This
do,
time,
like
yeah,
just taking,
not
direction from a director.
yeah. And if you look at the writing, a lot of it doesn't really even sound like it's coming from a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard to make that sound natural for a kid. At least the majority of it. Like maybe the wahoo, yoo, like
Yeah,
maybe that's not as hard. But a lot of the topics he's talking about, it's like, man, like expecting him to have like this whole thing where he grasps the idea of being a slave and like his mother being stuck there. Like, I mean, granted, they were expecting him to take it very, very well for a kid.
mm-hmm.
If we were talking about a realistic interpretation of what a kid would probably act like, he'd probably be crying his eyes out.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
And no, he's expected to be there like, okay, mother, I'm off. It's like, how do you expect him to sound normal talking like that?
Yeah, I see what you mean. One
Yeah,
thing I will say about when Anakin does pop up is I do like how when he does show up, they don't portray like Anakin as a dun dun dun, this is your future Darth Vader. If anything, he kind of comes off in this sort of like, unassuming way, almost as if, and this isn't to like, mock his character. This is almost like a thing where it's like, oh my god, this kid's gonna grow up to be like Darth Vader. It's
yeah,
like,
because
yeah.
he's just a sweet little kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, regardless of how he's written or whatever, he still comes off as a sweet little kid.
Yeah.
And he kicks butt at the pod racing, and I think that aspect of his character was handled very well.
Yeah.
And he's just there with it's so funny to watch this little kid with such a straight face going up against these crazy adults who are ready to like sabotage each other to the point of causing accidents, and
Mm-hmm.
he's there just like, and it's cool.
Yeah. What's funny enough, I'm just yeah, actually no, I was gonna say something about make a Mario Kart joke, but never mind.
Basically, it feels like if he was playing Mario Kart, and the kid's like, do 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 do. It's like, oh, I got a mushroom.
Mm-hmm. If only that could happen, huh?
And I think, yeah, even besides the pod racing, I remember I mentioned this when he was on in that ship near the end of the movie, where it's like way after Yoda had been like, oh, much fear I sense in you, and he's in this ship in the middle of a giant battle between different armies. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, totally scared little kid, right?
Yeah.
Totally. You're like, this kid is chill as heck. I'm here like, I'm sorry, Yoda, but I just don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe, yeah, they did emphasize it more or less in the right, like, oh, I miss my mother. Oh, it's so sad. Why isn't my mother coming with me? But other than that, it's like, this kid is chill as heck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here just like, this is supposed to be fear. This is supposed to be the kid with so much turmoil going through his head, and he's going to become completely evil.
Yeah. If anything, like, what makes it interesting for, like, Anakin's character is, I guess you could say it shows that, he's still got, quite a lot, a lot in his life ahead of him, like, to a point where it's, like, you almost, like, can't connect. If anything, it feels kind of natural and more grounded that way, and that it's, like, hard to imagine in that sort of way. You know what I'm saying? Because it's, like, he's still got life experiences, right?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and I think it works very well, like you say, in that sense, because I mean, credit given, children do tend to understand a lot more than we give them credit for.
Mm-hmm.
But there is still the sense of they may not know what to do with that information. They are less likely to question it,
Mm-hmm.
is the thing. And I think that's where the difference comes, in which it's after the fact, once they're starting to grow up and see the long lasting impacts
Mm-hmm.
of these kind of events, like, for, say, let's try to hypothetically put young Anakin in this situation, right? He's like, oh yeah, I spent a lot of time without my mom. I miss her a lot, and that kind of turns into like, oh, she wasn't there for like so many birthdays, or oh, she didn't, I've had to wait so long to go and save her, or like I've had to grow up without anybody to lead me besides these strangers, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it's like, if you think about realistically, it'll be over a long span of time, like, maybe not long, maybe let's say like 10 years for anything to really click.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he will understand what's going on. He will know, oh, okay, this isn't normal, maybe, but he's not going to question it and be like, well, oh, but what's going to happen and blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
and to expect a kid to really understand enough where they can be scared about the situation in which we're intended to think of with Anakin, I felt that was kind of a hard sell, and I think it shows, particularly, like how I pointed out, like, this kid isn't scared to fall into the middle of battle. He's grown up in this. He doesn't know anything different. How could he be scared of that which he's so used to?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, he understands it, but he's not going to question it. He's like, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, I don't know if I buy that whole full of fear stuff. Maybe in the future, not right now.
Yeah.
In fact, I thought it would have been the perfect time to say, okay, before any of this shit messes you up,
Mm-hmm.
come with us. We're going to be your new family now.
Hey, if anything, maybe they should have had Yoda say those kind of lines where it's like, I can't do a good Yoda imitation, but something to the effect of, "I sense great, like, a strong sense of fear. You're in this kid. Maybe we should work to like help him, like, control it."
Exactly. That would have made a lot of sense because Anna could be like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Kid, we know you're messed up. We're just going to help you before you realize it."
Or you could say, we could tell that Force is strong in you, and you seem like a smart kid because you're building up droids, but
I mean,
we
how
sense
old can
something
he
dark in you.
be? And we're expected to believe that he can like build a whole droid. I mean, it's freaking amazing and awesome. Uh and then there's the whole thing with being born from the midichlorians.
Uh, do you mind explaining? Because that was one of the
Uh,
things I didn't really get. Remember
okay,
hearing
it's
somebody
like
make a
it's
joke
like
with that.
it's like equivalent to the Virgin Mary in that mom did not get together with anyone to have Anakin. She just one day woke up and it's like, I'm pregnant! And it was the midichlorians, which are these tiny little, like, cell things that make up all living life, apparently, in this, uh, in Star Wars. And this is
Hmm.
something that they integrated here, which is, oh boy, is one of the things this movie is infamous for in the sense
Yeah,
of incorporating it. It was just one of those moments. I'm going to be honest, I didn't even realize it until watching it this time, but I'm here like, wait, are you doing like a Jesus trope? Really?
which, knowing like how much mythology has inspired Star Wars, that's probably the case. Like,
Yeah, and I'm just like it's hard to sell in something like Star Wars. I get it. I get it. I really do get what they were going for, but
hmm
um I don't know what it is particularly about Christianity, and not in the sense of something being wrong with the religion, but being so hard to get the representation of it, or the the reference to it right, in the sense of incorporating, what was the word that is used for this, basically references, like
yeah,
borrowing concepts from it. It's really hard to kind of like embarrass it, or like make just like be tasteless with it. It's really hard to be tasteful with this kind of representation. I think that's kind of like when we hear the whole, oh, this is a film based on Christian faith. It's not necessarily that Christian faith itself is the issue there. It's the fact that it's so hard to get wrong, because either you're going to get some sort of idea that just does not fit well with the ideologies of the religion and is disrespectful to begin with, or it's going to be like it's going to seem off like a complete blatant ripoff, and kind of like, oh, so you're saying this is the equivalent of Jesus? Is that what you're telling me?
mm.
And it's like, ooh, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good at all.
Yeah, I could see that too. It's funny
Yeah.
though. My big question is, where did the midichlorians come from?
Don't ask me. I don't know.
And yeah, because I don't
They
remember them.
live in us. We live in. They live inside us. That's the other thing too, where it's like, oh my god, it's like midichlorians are God. Are you calling midichlorians God?
That doesn't
I'm
make
like,
sense to
oh
me.
god.
The weird thing about the midichlorians is, I remember, I won't say which YouTuber did this review, but I remember seeing a certain YouTuber's review of Temple of Doom a million years ago,
Uh huh.
and this person put in like a midichlorian joke. The scene where, do you remember the scene in Temple of Doom where Indy turns evil for a second, where he's forced to drink that drink and he turns bad for like a minute?
Oh, what part was that? It's been a long time since I've seen Temple of Doom. I loved that movie, though. I know, absolutely. I've heard it's one of like the worst Indiana Jones films, but it's the main one I got to watch as a kid. I
Mm-hmm.
had so much fun watching it. It's so quotable. I'm like, I'm having fun. I don't know about you guys, but it's been so
Yeah,
long.
I see. Because in the scene where Indy, like, he goes from the space and he has that like scare, that evil grin on his face when it goes on, and when it makes that transition, the guy put in a little audio clip of himself saying, "Midichlorians are a great idea." So, yeah.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Curse you, Indy! Why did it have to be midi-chlorians?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah. Not to mention that this isn't the worst situation I've been in the
mhm.
sense of that. You know, it's when it's like he's all like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry,"
Yeah,
but
no
all right.
worries.
So,
Okay.
where were
So we
we?
were like ranting about the midichlorians.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to admit they did a good job explaining it, but again, I think the problem with it was that it was a hard sell. Not in the sense that it's not believable, but I think, like I pointed out, it's hard for it not to come off as cringy.
Mm,
It's got biblical references. That'll work. You know?
yeah,
And,
just
and it's not like biblical references can't work. Like I've mentioned, um, in fact, it's a very, especially in literature, I hear it's a very frequently used thing, and it can really add to a story, you know. But when you're doing it with something like sci-fi, it's hard to take seriously.
yeah, especially in the way they do it here. So,
Yeah,
anyway,
absolutely.
you want to also talk about certain other characters?
Oh no, we're finally getting to them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where to begin with these guys. I mean, I can't tell what people were thinking with this. I don't understand how they looked at this accent. They looked at the slanted eyes and said, "This is all right. This is a funny joke." I'm just here like, oh,
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not the kind of person to like instantly, like raise a pitchfork or um, but at the same time, when I heard the accent, I was like it just kind of took me
it
out of the
was
movie. I
very,
was like,
very,
whoa, people
very,
weren't
very
kidding.
evident.
Yeah.
I don't know if you should add a picture just because we didn't really point out who we're talking about or something. You know, I
Hmm.
don't even know what they're called.
Yeah,
But
I don't know either, other than it's the characters that everybody like. Well, come to think of it, there's a lot of characters in Phantom Menace that people will get on, but I know who you're referring to. If I could find
yes,
a
yes,
picture, I
that's the.
could.
It's very obviously a Japanese accent gone horribly wrong. I thought it would have maybe been a lot better to give them their own language,
Mm-hmm.
especially since we already have hoodies. Like, you guys can come up with some sort of language that was based off of, you know, real world languages that you were wanting to represent. Like, this could have been so much more tasteful.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, no, now we have these, oh god, these people with so horrible accents and very, very evident, you know, I don't even know what to call it.
Yeah. Once again, yeah. If I find a picture that I could use, I'll throw it up on the video. But I think yeah, but I think most people who have at least like are aware of like Phantom Menace's reputation can kind of get it, just because I also remember hearing about these characters. Like, I think of this guy I will like bring up. Like, I remember the YouTuber I Hate Everything. Do you watch I Hate Everything, Gabby?
What was it?
I Hate Everything.
Oh, yeah, I have.
Yeah, because I remember him saying he wasn't a fan of like the particular character that you brought up. I do think that some of the effects are starting to look a little on the dated side. Like some of the vehicle designs, I look at them and think that they lack a bit of texture. Although I think much of the CG more so shines in like the backgrounds, I would say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, especially
Okay.
like I said, the underwater city where they take us in the beginning of the film, I thought looked really great.
Oh yeah, they really did go all out with the Gungan city. That
Yeah.
was just great. Just most of the underwater part in general, even outside of the city, is just, especially since I love really creepy kind of aquatic creature aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing those, I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then seeing like the goober fish just like get eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see the bigger fish just come out.
Oh yeah, I like
Yeah.
that part too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
also
it
really
was
like that part. And yeah,
you
Jar
know,
Jar was
and then you
freaking
see
out.
like another one get like split in half, and it's just like, you know, in my head, I just heard those, you know, it's the circle of life.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you mean. But yeah, I mean, as far as yeah, so yeah, some of the CG still holds up pretty well, particularly the worlds themselves. Do you have anything else in mind?
I'm going to admit I admire the outfits they use for what, like basically Queen Amidala,
Mm-hmm.
whether it is being portrayed as like whether we're supposed to think it's Padme or Amidala herself doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't really made the distinction between them until right now. I thought they were just different names that she was referred to as, and now I'm like, oh, oh. And I think I mentioned here that as far as like being aware of that and then looking at how they go, and was like, wait, how are we supposed to know which one's the decoy and which one's the actual princess?
Because I thought the decoy was basically anytime you saw her in, you know, one of the costumes, and Padme herself was when she would just show up as like herself, basically. Like that's
Well,
how I took
yeah,
it.
but then there's the whole part like when they see her coming through, like dressed up and all that, and her makeup and all that, and
Mm-hmm.
then she starts shooting, and then another person comes in, and it's like, shut her, that's the decoy. I'm like, wait, which one's the decoy?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. And there are little moments where you can notice that, you know, there is actually somebody else there.
mm-hmm.
Like the first time that he sees Padme, and you're like, wait, you don't look like Amidala, even out of makeup. And that's the first one that he talks to be like, oh, are you an angel?
Yeah.
And I'm here like, so who did Anakin literally fall in love with? Was it actually Amidala or was it Padme?
I don't know. Maybe there is some confusion to it. I mean, because
I mean,
like I
I
said,
think
I
at the
basically
end of the day, he just sticks with Queen Amidala. But I mean, I guess we're supposed to take their word for it that yeah, he just falls in love with Queen Amidala. I'm like, okay. You know, I
yeah,
guess it
it
wasn't
may
supposed to be looked into that much, but I'm here just being like,
yeah, like maybe there are some scenes where like I think it's Padme, but somebody might point out and say no, 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 that's the decoy, and it's like oh okay, so
yeah. And the point is that how do you know for sure? You know, unless she comes up, and even if they say it, you don't know if she's saying it
mm-hmm.
for the sake of tricking people or because it's actually the case. Because why would you make it that clearly, you know, distinguishable if the point was for people not to know when there was a decoy and when it was actually Queen Amidala? It's like that would just be besides the point. It wouldn't help for anything because everybody will know, oh, okay, if it's, you know, in if she's in the outfit, that's the decoy and go for that girl over there. But at the same time, that would be too easy.
Yeah,
You
good
know, it'd
point.
be like, ah. So either way, I'm just here like it does not compute. Either we never know when it's her, and we don't
Hmm.
even know who legitimately Anakin fell in love with, or they just come up with a really bad idea of how to use a decoy.
Yeah, I mean, if it was something like if it was one of those movies where it's like that's actually part of what makes it interesting, I think that would be cool. But now I'm kind of just like mentally rewinding the movie, thinking, who's who and who in that scene and so forth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some parts aren't really that hard to figure out. Like when there's the part where he goes in, he's looking for Padme, and the queen is there, but we know that the queen is also supposed to be in at court, the Senate court. I don't know where they have the trial. They have the trial, so they're both. Holy mac! Even then, we don't know who it is because they're both in outfits.
Yeah,
But I'm
I
going to
wouldn't know
say that
either.
it's a little easy to kind of like rationalize it. Okay, the real one should be over there just because it's important that she knows what goes down there, and then the other
Hmm.
decoy is just so people don't catch on. It's like, oh wait, that's not really her.
Yeah, maybe someone down below in the comments could like point out
If
who's who.
anybody can let us know if there's actually a way they figured out how to make sense out of all of this, or
Hmm.
if we're just going in too deep on this whole thing. If it mainly me. Now I've just confused poor Bobby.
Yeah. Oh, no, 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 no. Don't worry about it, Gabby. So,
So I'm here like, okay, wait, who? Padme is Amidala. Amidala is Padme. Padme Amidala. What?
why does that sound? I don't know why. I was. That sounds like something. I don't know why. It sounds like something out of a Hannibal Buress cartoon for a second. I don't know
It
why. It just kind
does.
of make me think of like. Just makes me think of like a character saying, "But so and so is there. But so and so is there." Wait, no, 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 no. Well, what about that?
They're
Is
right
just like
there.
I.
Wait, no, but they're there. It's like Padme's, Amidala, Amidala, everywhere. Everyone is Padme. Padme's.
Uh-oh. Gabby, are you still there?
Oh no.
Uh, hello?
Well, hello? Yeah, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay. Is my camera moving? Because it's not moving on my end.
No, it's not. Is mine?
Yes,
Oh, wait,
you're
wait, wait.
fine.
It's starting to move again. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, yeah, I'm back. But yeah, oh, it's confusing. I'm like, I don't know if I'm the only one who finds it confusing because I haven't heard anyone talk about this, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
here like, how are we just supposed to take your word for it?
I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, since I sort of have like, I just kind of took it that way. But I could be wrong. There's still the margin of error. You know.
Yeah, I think the only main part where we know who we're seeing particularly is when, you know, they supposedly send Padme with Qui-Gon, and they meet Anakin. The way you see her written is like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
that's Queen Amidala, but she's saying that she's Padme,
Mhm.
you know. But other than that, it just gets really. Eh. So I guess from there, if that is the first person he meets, we can say that yes, it is Queen Amidala. But at the same time, like he's talking to this other girl, probably in this other scene. He's just like, "Here, I made this. so that you can remember me by. And it's like, wait, but that might not be the person you were talking to earlier, kid. Like, what if somebody else ended up with that charm?
Oh shit, that's all I could say. Well, to be
Either she was
fair,
really nice and she gave it to Queen Amidala, saying, "Here, the kid that you wooed just gave me this. This is for you."
mhm.
Or they just kept it for themselves because they're like, "Oh, pretty."
Yeah, well, to be fair, in that scene, I wasn't really sure who that was, so it's
To me, it looked way different. And then the other giveaway when she was with Qui-Gon Jinn was the
mhm.
fact that her hair was just super long, fluffy, and it was like, yeah, that's a little more than that's a little more than somebody who would seem to be like a right hand man or something like that,
Yeah.
or helper or whatever. It's like, no, that's the princess.
Mhm.
But it's so hard for most of the other parts to figure that out, where it's just like at the end of the day, I'm here like, what? Continuity errors, am I right? How long did I go off on this for?
Um, I wasn't really keeping tracking time, but you had your case.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I just remembered.
Oh, what's up?
All right. I said I liked Darth Maul,
Mhm.
right? As a character, I love Darth Maul. I think he's really cool. He's really badass.
Mhm.
But I mentioned that it comes off as having that Boba Fett issue, and that we're like, oh my gosh, this guy is so cool. He's supposed to be really badass. But at the same time, it's like, what do we know about him? We don't know what's going through his head. His head, to us, is empty.
Mhm.
And then they kill him off so quickly and so uneventfully.
Yeah.
Not to mention that's one of the parts where the CGI just kind of looks really wonky, in that it's like, oh, it looks like he was digitally cut in half. Wow, he must totally be dead.
Yeah. Who knows?
It'd be like, ah! I just found it so hard to take seriously. I'm like, look what they done to my boy.
Well, I think the one thing that I will say, in comparison to Boba Fett, as far as like what I've seen with Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, I feel at least with Darth Maul, they did give him that cool battle scene with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan. So at least
Oh
I
yeah,
give
oh
them
yeah.
a credit there. Also, dual side lightsaber.
That honestly was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was just that kill scene that I'm here like, why? Why? This is how you decide to kill him off? Oh, okay.
Mhm.
But other than that, he was pretty cool, and the fight scene that he was in was pretty cool.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Definitely agree on that.
I think that is pretty much it. I can't think of anything else now.
Okay, so yeah, so all right, so those were our thoughts on Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. The best way I'd sum it up is this like the worst movie I've ever seen? Not even close. Like, no, 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 no. The worst movie to me would be like something that makes me like really, really angry. Spielberg's 1941. But yeah, but it's the sort of thing where it's like maybe all that talk about like the trade and politics, it's not as horrific as I feared, although Gabby, you pointed out the worst is yet to come.
Oh, yes. As far as the political melodrama,
Hmm.
that was just the appetizer.
Yeah, and yeah, it does make some of the motivations behind the characters kind of tricky to get behind, but I was still at least able to get into like some of the battle scenes and one or two visuals.
Oh, yes, and you realize that we're just going to add another thing to the plate right now in the next movie, right? Or in the next, but whether it's the next movie or the movie after that, but I think it is the next one.
Emo
Angsty
Anakin.
Anakin.
Great stuff. Yeah.
On top of the political melodrama.
In a nutshell, how would you describe, like, if you could just use one word to describe Attack of the Clones, what would you use?
Yawn.
Oh, yeah, because it's funny how, like, while Phantom Menace is the one that, like, everybody kind of, laughs at, I've heard, from, people that technically Attack of the Clones is an even worse movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say too much so much with Revenge of the Sith just because my experiences with it, like I've been over that, and I think kind of after that one first experience, I was just kind of like, never again. I never want to see this thing ever again. Don't take
Mm-hmm.
me to it. So I haven't revisited it properly for a while, but Attack of the Clones, I do remember a friend of mine. She tried to sit me down through it a while, like a good couple of years back, and all I remember is just seeing lips move on and on
Mm-hmm.
and on, and none of the words would come in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just, I'm here
Yeah.
like, what is going on here? So,
Yes. Yeah, we'll
we'll
get.
see if that still stands,
Mm-hmm.
but that's how I remember it. So,
I will say really quickly, I have seen Hayden Christensen in a good movie though, in his
oh,
film
which one?
Shattered Glass. Have you seen it? Where he kind of plays this shady journalist.
I don't think I have, but that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I saw it in my media. I think it was media law or media ethics. I think it was my media ethics class when I was studying journalism in college, and I thought he played a great manipulator in the movie.
Ooh, I could see that working.
Yeah, but we'll see how he does in Attack of the Clones, because as I say in many of my reviews, I'm the person who, at least now I could say, well, now I've seen the sequels, original trilogy, and one of the prequels, and we'll and I'll get to Attack the Clones and Revenge of the Sith when we get to it. So,
I'm gonna have to muster all of my energy for Attack of the Clones.
mm, yeah, it seems like it's gonna be
uh,
interesting because it seems like yeah, lots of people are kind of like, well, not telling me, but I've heard people like hearing people say this is the one that's just painful. Yeah.
I feel so strongly like I want to go into the whole spiel about why I don't like emo Anakin again, but I'm pretty sure I've already let you guys know at least part of it on here.
Yeah.
It's just, oh,
Yeah. Well,
I'm dreading it.
yeah, so but yeah, we'll have to save that for the Attack of the Clones review. So but anyway, yeah, so that was our Phantom Menace review. So let us know your thoughts down below on this movie, or really any of these Star Wars movies down below in the comments. So until next time, this has been Blood Moon Bobby and Gabby here, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye. Hi everyone, thanks for watching this Blood Moon Bobby video. Like and share the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel to see more of my videos and ring the bell to be notified about my latest uploads. Don't forget to follow me on social media for my latest opinions and video updates. I hope to see you next time.